You love them. But let's be honest, you need a break. While Uncle Steve explains why he hates the referee, and Aunt Linda asks why you're still single, you can be somewhere else. SportsGrid is live all Thanksgiving Day. Real-time odds, predictive data, and total silence from your in-laws. Escape the noise with SportsGrid.
A huge number out there on Cason Wallace to win Defensive Player of the Year at 500-1. That is worth your attention. And a number that I talked about before the season that I still think should be lower is Mark Daigneault to win Coach of the Year at 11-1 in the NBA. If they win 70, he's a lock for top 3. If they win 73, it's his.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
What are those things called?
A shooting star.
Yeah, okay, I'll go with that one. Like it just burns up quick, and you love it while you can see it, and bing, it's gone in the blink of an eye.
Right.
That's my fear for Cam Scatterby.
Yeah, and that's not a big deal, but I will say it's weird, and it seems like he really enjoys that attention, which is all fine because he's a young guy.
Yeah.
But possibly dangerous in a city like New York.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Close to $1 million in volume being traded right now on the Offensive Player of the Year. If you did put $100 down on Jonathan Taylor, that would pay back $143, so a 43% increase on your money that you had. There are a lot of long shots in here, but it doesn't feel like those would be good bets. Like, hey, I'm going to put it on Justin Herbert. Well, yeah, if Justin Herbert wins it, Joe, a $100 wager would pay back $10,000. They even have a market for if you want to bet Malik Neighbors.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for hanging with us here on SportsGrid. This is NewsWire. I am Adam Kaufman, and for Craig Mish today, got you for the next 90 minutes, a bevy of guests on the way, a full plate of them, you might say, here on Thanksgiving Eve, and we have got so much to cover. Feast week in college basketball, an unbelievable NFL slate coming up these next couple of days between 3 games on Thanksgiving, and, of course, just the third ever Black Friday game coming up in a couple of days, about 48 hours away as it sits right now. As a matter of fact, if we have time, we'll get to a loaded NBA slate tonight. We will do a whole bunch that is going on around the media and the world of sports betting, the business of sports betting. And you know what? Why don't we begin there right here before we start to get into some of what is trending and recaps from yesterday and all that we normally do here on NewsWire. Kalshi, I tell you, continues to I guess run into its challenges, you might say. A Nevada federal judge has dissolved a preliminary injunction that was awarded to Kalshi, putting the status of sports event contracts in that state, the iconic betting state, in flux. Some of the details on this story, of course, Judge Andrew Gordon dissolved the temporary injunction that had awarded the company against the Nevada Gaming Control Board, writing that everyone, including Kalshi, can see that their sports event contracts are clearly sports betting. Can't get around. Oh, it's different. It's prediction markets. It's that type. No, it is sports betting, in the words, obviously, of this judge. Now, Gordon granted Kalshi a preliminary injunction, temporary restraining order as well in April, allowing it to keep its sports contracts online in the state, despite that cease and desist order, while the lawsuit filed by the designated contract market continued. Well, in a filing on Monday, just a couple of days ago, Gordon reversed that order, granting the NGCB's motion to lift the injunction. So, what does it mean going forward? Obviously, Gordon wrote that Kalshi had established a market for sports betting, advertised itself as the sports app, first one to offer legal sports betting in all 50 states, despite not being licensed to conduct gaming in Nevada or any other state. So, as the world turns in the prediction market space, that, as we know, so many of these legal sports books in whatever number of states that they are individually legalized in are looking to take advantage of and join and become a part of. Kalshi thought it had the market kind of cornered on, all right, we're offered in all 50. Not the case with this cease and desist, and we will see what ends up happening next. We'll see what happens next in the world of college football, because once again, of course, we've got a brand new look at a top 25, at the projected college playoff football rankings, and with the expanded format constantly every week on these shows, we are talking about, can this team afford a third loss? Can this team afford a second loss? What's it look like? What's the bracket? Ohio State is the number one team, followed closely by Signetti's Indiana, each at 11-0. Texas A&M also an unbeaten. Then you have Georgia, Texas Tech, Oregon, Ole Miss, all chipping in with only one loss. BYU all the way down at 11, also with one loss at 10-1. What's interesting about the bracket as you look at it, Tulane is a part of this thing, barely in the top 25. You might be saying, how does Tulane at 24 get into the college football playoff, as it, again, shapes up here in this moment, knowing full well that in the weeks to come, things can change? Well, Tulane, while being ranked lower than BYU, is actually in the bracket ahead of BYU on account of being the top-ranked Group of 5 representative. And so a lot of this still has to play itself out, obviously, in the coming weeks. But fascinating, the college football playoff, independent of all the side bowls and everything else, with the teams that are programs still fighting for something, looking to enjoy that extra game in and around New Year's or the Christmas holiday. The college football playoff, in this first view of it, as it expands beyond 4 teams this year, is going to be electric. A lot of fun to watch, a lot of fun, obviously, in the betting space if you are in an area that is permitted to do so. Now, again, in terms of the matchups, just to show it to you one more time, you have Texas Tech in a 5-12 against Tulane, Oregon, Miami, Ole Miss, Alabama, Oklahoma, Notre Dame, and of course, those 4 schools, Indiana, A&M, Ohio State, and Georgia, all would have first-round byes as we go right now. Michigan, you will notice, not a part of that. Of course, in the last couple of years, a national football champion at the college ranks. The quarterback who took them there, J.J. McCarthy, is in year 1 of his NFL career, at least actually playing, because as we know, injured during his entire first original rookie year, you might say an NFL redshirt year. This year, been up and down. He's been in and out of the lineup due to injuries, and looking like, well, not official, that he is going to miss week 13 coming up here. So you might be thinking, okay, well, Vikings have a capable backup, Carson Wentz. Here's the thing, Wentz, he's banged up too. So it's going to be Max Brosmer if, in fact, McCarthy is unavailable. Brosmer, the rookie, who is 24 years old, very inexperienced. He has appeared in 4 games this year, only 8 attempted passes in his young career, 5 of 8 for 42 yards, no picks, no interceptions, a QB rating of just 18.8, a passer rating up around 76. So what is he going to look like for Minnesota if he winds up getting the start? Great question. Can't wait to find out. The return, though, that I am very excited for, and I'm sure a lot of people out there are as well, especially in Cincinnati, is Joe Burrow. Getting ready to take the field here on Thanksgiving. His first action since that toe injury back in week 2. Has not played in a very long time, and unfortunately his team has been very bad without him. Losses in 8 of 9. This team is coming in at 3-8. There are a few expectations that the Bengals are actually going to put up a real, legitimate fight as a touchdown dog against Baltimore, especially in Baltimore. And there are all sorts of trends that we'll outline later in the show that tell you this is a great spot for the Ravens and Lamar Jackson, not Joe Burrow. However, why is he playing after very nearly playing last week against the Patriots and now finally making his return? Well, they need him.
I think just like a lot of kids, you grow up going through Thanksgiving, you have your meals with your family, and then you go and sit on the couch, and typically there's not a lot on except football. Back in the day, it was Lions and somebody. You go watch Matthew Stafford throw for 300, 400 some yards with Calvin Johnson and probably lose the game, but it was fun to watch. Those are memories that you have, and so I kind of always wanted to be the person out there.
Stafford the MVP favorite right now in the NFL. He's got to be out there wondering why he's taking strays from Joe Burrow about his play in Detroit on Thanksgiving. Not that it was his problem. A lot of the time it was defense. But nevertheless, CeeDee Lamb also getting ready to play on Thursday, as is, of course, his fellow number one, you might say, George Pickens there for Dallas. And Lamb, he had some issues against the Eagles. 3 drops trying to correct those problems. I would suggest go out to the casino first thing in the morning, get ripped, and then, let it all out before a big game. It worked well a couple weeks ago, so maybe that's the recipe for success for Schottenheimer's crew. But the Cowboys, they came back from down 21-0 against the Eagles and managed to win, walking it off. We'll see if they can do that again in a very tough spot coming up here. Brandon Cooks, he was a Cowboy at one point in time, and now he continues to bounce around the NFL, a Buffalo Bill. So this year, not so good. Obviously, as a member of the Saints, through 10 games, 19 catches, 165 yards, not used all that often, did not have a touchdown, wasn't good last year in his second and final year as a member of the Cowboys, couldn't sort of resurrect things with the Saints in what's just a terrible situation there has been all year, and now winds up in the Bills offense with some of the questions surrounding, obviously, Keon Coleman, some of the other injuries they've had at the tight end position. It's a good opportunity for Cooks to swoop in there, kind of a la Amari Cooper, and see if he can actually make any noise and get that Bills team back on track, because it has been struggling a bit of late as well. There's a lot going on Feast Week in the world of college basketball, some interesting games in recent days, and certainly some big ones to come on the way here. So we'll get into some of that when we come on back. Go nowhere. It is NewsWire here on SportsGrid.
The future of the prediction markets, I think, at least for now, may be in the hands of the federal courts. But the good news for those who support prediction markets is that these court battles may last for another 2 to 3 years before we get clarity around the law. And nominee Seelig was handpicked by Donald Trump, not because he was neutral on prediction markets, but because he would do nothing to slow it down.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
Goff and Mahomes were never taken serious. Hurts won't be, even if they're the 1 seed. Jonathan Taylor plays running back. Stop. Mahomes lost the head-to-head to Josh. Can I confidently eliminate every single person booked behind Josh Allen to at least beat out Josh Allen? So I'm in a head-to-head with Stafford May?
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Ashton Genty has been hit behind the line of scrimmage more than any player in the National Football League. Yep. So you just gave him the ball in the end zone. Do the math. How's that going to work out?
It's like what
I said earlier. He got hit behind the line of scrimmage. He got tackled in the end zone.
Yeah.
Oh, they're terrible. But the thing is, Brady, you draft offensive linemen before you draft a star running back. Like they went backwards.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
We are back on NewsWire and pleased to bring in our good friend Mike DeCourcy. Of course, covers college basketball for the Sporting News. Mike, how are you?
I am well, Adam. How are you?
I'm good. Look, it's feast week, so everybody is happy, not only counting down until they can literally feast on their Thanksgiving meals, but as we can bet all day long and follow all things college basketball through these early season tournaments and just everything that is going on day by day. Really, it feels like anytime you turn on the TV, there's at least a game on, and so it's a great time. Let's start with the Johnnies. Now, St. John's, number 14 team in the country, handled Baylor. First loss of the year for the Bears as well. It was lopsided, 96-81 in this one. Bryce Hopkins, 26 points. The Johnnies, great from 3, 11 out of 22. We know Rick Pitino was happy after the game, obviously. What'd you think of the bounce back?
Yeah, I thought it was good. But one of the interesting things that developed out of that victory to me, Adam, was the fact that they shot so well from three-point range. And I came out of that thinking, do they need to shoot that well from three-point range to win? Because they're still not rebounding. They got beaten pretty handily on the boards down the stretch of their loss on Monday. And then I thought that there would be improvement in that area, that there would be a focus on it. Bryce Hopkins, Ejiofor, those guys have been good rebounders in the past, but it's not happening right now. I thought it would be an emphasis against Baylor. And like I said, it was not. If it was a emphasis, it didn't come through. They still shot the ball well. They guarded Baylor very well. But they are not hitting the boards and getting those defensive possessions closed out. And that will cost them if they don't improve in that area.
It's obviously very early in the season. Teams haven't played 10 games yet. But when we're considering the futures market for a team like St. John's, who, to me, thinking back to last year in the tournament, went out a little prematurely, at least compared to my own expectations and where I had them on my bracket and all of that fun stuff. The odds naturally, obviously, get longer the deeper you go into the tournament as you look at it right now. For instance, to win the Big East, we have plus 160. The Final Four, plus 550. To win the whole damn thing, cut down the nets 25-1. I don't need to ask you what their ceiling is. Clearly, that's the latter. But what's most realistic to you in terms of this team's finish?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, the Big East is not really a very deep conference in terms of contenders this year. So when you look at that number on the Big East Championship, I think it reflects more the idea that it's probably going to be either them or UConn with maybe an outside shot for Villanova. Georgetown will be a contender as well, but there's not a big pool of candidates. I don't think they're a great value to win the league unless they make significant gains in the area that I just discussed. I do think they're dangerous because, first of all, they've got that ability to shoot now from the perimeter they didn't have a year ago. And you've got Rick on the bench, who's as good in March as there's ever been a coach in terms of navigating his way through the madness. He's as good as there's ever been. So there might be some value in that Final Four play, but even that number seems a little bit low for the challenge that there'll be to try to get that far.
So by knocking off Baylor, that means next up Auburn, the number 21 team in the country right now at St. John's, is a 6.5-point favorite. Total in this game, as you can see on your screen, is 167.5. Do you like the Johnnies to go out there and not only win, but cover the number?
Well, I don't know about the number. It's a big one, especially since Auburn is a very talented team. But what you do have, if you feel inclined there, you have Rick Pitino against Stephen Pearl, who's coaching his 8th or 9th game as a Division I head coach. And Rick has coached about 1,000 of them and won most of them. So you have that advantage. And you do have a skill advantage. I think Tahad Pettiford will be the best player on the floor for Auburn. But I think if you were having a draft, so to speak, the next 2-3 players you'd take would be Johnny. So they do have a talent advantage there as well. But I just don't like the way the Johnnies are playing right now in terms of their effort on the glass. It makes them too vulnerable for me to invest in them at this stage.
Houston got the best of my Syracuse squad, my alma mater, just a couple of days ago. Barely. They had to work for it, but they got it. And then they got their just due on the other side. It was Tennessee with a 76-73 win in the last time out. Sets up Tennessee against Kansas. But before we look ahead to that one, what was your big takeaway from the survival for the Vols?
Yeah, what I liked about the Vols in that game is that down the stretch, it became sort of a basket trading game, which has not typically been the way Tennessee has won. They break your offense and then they score enough to win. That's been Tennessee basketball under Rick Barnes, with the rare exception of having a Grant Williams type talent on your team. They break your offense and they make it and they find their way to get enough points to win. But they won the game on offense down the stretch against the Cougars. They were trading buckets. They were having a hard time stopping Kingston Flemings, and rightfully so. The guy's fantastic. But Jacoby Gillespie answered all of that. They made some really nice execution to get, especially a bucket that they got that was key from Felix Opara. So I like where Tennessee is right now. I think they're in a really good position heading into this game against KU.
Well, it's a much lower total than the game we were just talking about. 139.5 for this one, the 4.5-point spread with Tennessee favored, the number 17 team in the country against obviously unranked Kansas. Is this going to be a defensive showdown, do you think?
Well, I think that, like I said before, that's kind of where Tennessee starts. And Kansas is going to have to do that in order to hang on. They are missing their best offensive player, Darren Peterson, who will probably be he'll definitely be one of the first players taken in next year's draft. He could be the first player taken. And he's out with a hamstring injury right now. So they're kind of having to make do at point guard with Melvin Council. He's done a very nice job, especially his first 2 games in Vegas. But when you go up against the defense as proficient as Tennessee's, I think that's where things break down a little bit for KU and why I might lean a little bit toward the Vols in this game.
We got about 30 seconds. One more for you, and that is Gonzaga and Michigan. This one's pretty close to a pick 'em. It's not quite there. You got Gonzaga as a slight favorite. Where do you go?
Wow, it's hard because those are the 2 best front lines, I think, in college basketball right now. Gonzaga's got a little less experience at point guard. So I would say if I had to pick between the 2, I'm going to like Michigan. But, man, it's going to be a heck of a game to watch.
Mike DeCourcy once again covers college basketball for the Sporting News, a regular here on NewsWire on SportsGrid. Mike, thank you so much and happy holidays.
Happy Thanksgiving, Adam.
The future of the prediction markets, I think, at least for now, may be in the hands of the federal courts. But the good news for those who support prediction markets is that these court battles may last for another 2 to 3 years before we get clarity around the law. And nominee Seelig was handpicked by Donald Trump, not because he was neutral on prediction markets, but because he would do nothing to slow it down.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
Goff and Mahomes were never taken serious. Hurts won't be even if they're the 1 seed. Jonathan Taylor plays running back. Stop. Mahomes lost the head-to-head to Josh. Can I confidently eliminate every single person booked behind Josh Allen to at least beat out Josh Allen? So I'm in a head-to-head with Stafford May?
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Ashton Genty has been hit behind the line of scrimmage more than any player in the National Football League. Yep. So you just gave him the ball in the end zone. Do the math. How's that going to work out?
It's like what I said
earlier.
He got hit
behind the line of scrimmage. He got tackled in the end zone.
Yeah.
Oh, they're terrible. But the thing is, Brady, you draft offensive linemen before you draft a star running back. Like they went backwards.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
Our thanks once again to Mike DeCourcy from Sporting News. More college basketball talk on the way if we have time, but we have so much to cover over the next hour plus, including it is time now for our SportsGrid sound off. It's not a standoff, it's a sound off. The standoff is between the coaches, the teams that'll be out there on the field. And yesterday, of course, we heard from Sharon Moore, we heard from Kalen DeBoer, we heard from Dan Lanning. We're going to get the opposite perspective, the other coaches in all of these upcoming matchups. It begins with Ohio State and Michigan. And one of the big questions is Michigan has taken 4 straight in this rivalry after a long winning streak out of Ohio State. Moore, obviously, it's not just been Moore, but he's been on the right side of history as far as any Wolverines fans are concerned. But what about Ryan Day on the other side for number 1 Ohio State? Again, 11-0, top team in the country. Can the Buckeyes get the monkey off their back?
Yeah, I think it comes down to, your confidence in your preparation, and that's what we have to focus on. And it's easy to start to, get distracted. At the end of the day, like the more prepared you are, then the more confident you go into games. And that's, something that we focused all season on and prepared each week the same way and focused on the things that, we have to make sure we master in order to win this game. So, it's important to go in with confidence, and a big part of that is how you prepare. It's like when you go into a test and you know what the answers are, you come in and you walk in like and that's just the way it is in any game, and it includes this one.
For Alabama and Auburn, meanwhile, it's the Iron Bowl, as it always is, and historically, over the last several years, this has been owned by Alabama. Again, we've already heard from DeBoer. Let's get the perspective of the dog trying to make some noise here for Auburn. That is, of course, DJ Durkin.
So now, obviously, we are on to this week. It's the greatest rivalry in college football. It's a game that means a lot to a lot of people down here, and certainly to our team, our coaching staff. So we had a good practice this morning. We're already on to that, and our preparation has started. And we're looking forward to the challenge and the task. They're a really good football team. They're well coached in all 3 phases. They have playmakers at all spots, and I think their numbers, their stats, their record all speak to that. They definitely perform at a high level, and they've played some tough games and played well in those games. So we know it's a great challenge, and we are looking forward to it. To take advantage of the training room and get off your feet and rest and eat right and all those things that we're talking about. So we've really gone through A to Z with them of what that looks like, what that means. Get in here, watch extra film, and it was cool to see their response. Our guys embraced that challenge. Our leadership has done a great job with that, and I think I just was walking through right now. I mean, you see guys in the building, and I anticipate seeing that all week long.
Alabama's won 9 of 11 in this rivalry going back to 2014. So again, Iron Bowl largely has belonged to Saban and company. Saban gone, as we know, DeBoer there, but Alabama has continued to win. We'll see what ends up happening coming up here this weekend. As far as Oregon and Washington, once again, Dan Lanning, he has weighed in. What about Jed Fish and the Huskies? Can they upset the Ducks? Historically, the answer, not really. Oregon has dominated this thing going back decades at this point in time. However, Washington has won 3 out of the last 4.
I'm sure that our crowd will be fired up. The energy will be elite. The passion our players will play with should be great. I'm sure same for them. And really looking forward to the game. I think we're healthy, so that's good. So we'll see exactly what that looks like, but I feel like we're very healthy at this point going into this game. I feel like our guys are fired up to go into this game, and looking forward to it. Their roster is national. They have a ton of players from. I brought it up in our meeting when we were looking at their. Now they got 2 guys from Maryland, 2 guys from Texas, guy from Indianapolis, a guy from L.A. They're kind of all over the place. They're able to recruit nationally, and they've signed a ton of high quality players. So it is going to be an all-day sucker on Saturday.
Again, Washington's taken 3 out of 4. What I will tell you is, at least in recent history, you get some high-scoring games when these 2 teams get together. No surprise by those 2 offenses, especially Oregon's, obviously. But last time around, November 2024 in Eugene, you got 70 points. Before that, 65 the previous year. It was 69 the previous game, 71 the game before that. So again, points, points, points. And typically, especially when Washington is on the winning side, you are getting, Oregon just trying to keep pace offensively. Not a lot of defenses in these shootouts. Maybe this weekend will bring much of the same. Hopefully it does. We're going to preview these games even deeper later on in the program, so do not go anywhere. Back to the business of betting. Sam McQuillan, Legal Sports Report, is going to join us when we return.
Family. You love them. But let's be honest, you need a break. While Uncle Steve explains why he hates the referee, and Aunt Linda asks why you're still single, you can be somewhere else. SportsGrid is live all Thanksgiving Day. Real-time odds, predictive data, and total silence from your in-laws. Escape the noise with SportsGrid.
Huge number out there on Kaufman Wallace to win Defensive Player of the Year at 500 to 1. That is worth your attention. And a number that I talked about before the season that I still think should be lower is Mark Daigneault to win Coach of the Year at 11 to 1 in the NBA. If they win 70, he's a lock for top 3. If they win 73, it's his.
Game time decisions only on SportsGrid.
What are those things called?
A shooting star.
Yeah, okay, I'll go with that one. Like it just burns up quick. And you love it while you can see it, and bing, it's gone in the blink of an eye.
Right.
That's my fear for Cam Scatterby.
Yeah, and that's not a big deal, but I will say it's weird, and it seems like he really enjoys that attention, which is all fine because he's a young guy.
Yeah.
But possibly dangerous in a city like New York.
The Craig Carton Show. Only on SportsGrid.
Close to $1 million in volume being traded right now in the Offensive Player of the Year. If you did put $100 down on Jonathan Taylor, that would pay back $143, so a 43% increase on your money that you had. There are a lot of long shots in here, but it doesn't feel like those would be good bets. Like, hey, I'm going to put it on Justin Herbert. Well, yeah, if Justin Herbert wins it, Joe, a $100 wager would pay back $10,000. They even have a market for if you want to bet Malik Neighbors.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, we are back here on NewsWire, and lots to get into as we get back to the business of betting. And whenever we do that, love to chat with our good friend from the Legal Sports Report. That is Sam McQuillan on Twitter at Sam_McQuill. Sam, how you doing?
Doing well. How about yourself, Adam?
I'm good. I know. Listen, diehard Knicks fan that you are, I hope you're not too worried about what the Pistons are doing right now. But we don't have time to get into that at the moment there in the Eastern Conference. Let's talk about Missouri sports betting launch information and just everything that people in the great state of Missouri need to be aware of. We are ticking down. We've been talking about December 1 for quite a while. What do people in the Missouri area or surrounding states that want to maybe drive over and place a bet, what do they need to know?
Yeah, first off, Missouri, the sports betting launch is important for several reasons, not just if you're in Missouri. It's the first state launch, new sports betting state that we're going to have since North Carolina, which was January of last year. So it's long forgotten are the days where you had state sports betting launch one after the other. Missouri is going to be very big. Obviously, it's a big state, and we haven't had one for a while. There'll be about 8 brands competing at the start. You'll have DraftKings, FanDuel, BetMGM, Caesars, Circa, and this will be the first state where ESPN Bet is now going to be the Score Bet. Obviously they're rebranding on December 1st, so timing works perfectly there. And you're going to have another brand that has yet to be named that's partnered with a company called Kambi. So they'll have all the usual suspects in the state. You can already sign up on many of the apps. I think all but one have their bonuses up where you can deposit $5 to win $200 and get your bonus bets and everything like that. The really interesting news here, though, is that Underdog, which was going to be one of the companies that was going to launch on Monday, December 1st, has now announced today that it is not going to launch in Missouri and instead will focus on its prediction markets product. It's already live in Missouri with sports prediction markets. These, of course, are the popular financial instruments where you can essentially bet on sports in all 50 states, and there's a number of lawsuits about that right now. But very interesting that, just a week before they'd already been advertising in Missouri, they now choose to, go a different route and not launch sports betting entirely in the state. Notably, DraftKings and FanDuel also have prediction markets, but they'll be launching sports betting in the state anyway. They'll miss the Thanksgiving games with the launch timing, but it'll be live for Chiefs-Cowboys, after Chiefs-Cowboys, which is expected to be one of the most watched games of the season, obviously the hometown team. So Missourians should be pretty happy they'll have a sports betting product just in time for the second half of the NFL season.
Well, like you said, missing most of Week 13 from a betting perspective, but with the December 1st launch, I mean, that does set up for Monday Night Football. And you have the Giants and Patriots doing battle. And then, of course, you look toward Week 14, and that will be the first legal opportunity for people in Missouri to bet on the Chiefs in a matchup with the Texans, a game that could be immensely important for both of those teams when it comes to the playoff race in the AFC. Which game do you guess? And that's all I'm asking you is to wager a guess. Is the more invested upon game? Is it the locality of the Chiefs, or is it the, oh my God, we can do this now, and just out of the gate Monday Night Football, Patriots, Giants?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think we'll see a ton of action on Patriots, Giants as the first out of the gate, oh my God, we can do this legally now. But then, if people win on that game, they'll have more savings in their accounts that can just roll over to the next game. I would imagine that the Chiefs game, the home game, being that it's at home as well, is going to be the bigger of the two, but both will be huge events, especially in Missouri.
I don't always applaud the NCAA for doing the right thing, but I think the organization has done something very smart after what looked like it was going to be a hellaciously dumb decision in my mind, which is the reversal of what we looked like, what appeared was going to be allowing athletes, staff members to bet on professional sports. Now, obviously, the NCAA has, kept its ban in place and said, you know what, this is probably heading into murky waters. So I golf clap the NCAA for getting this right. I couldn't believe when I saw that this was going to happen. The fact that they have, righted the ship on the decision makes a lot of sense to me, with all of the potential pitfalls and all of the insider information that could have been changed around from, guys that turn pro quickly after spending their time in college, all of the relationships that obviously exist, across not only staffs, but in locker rooms. What did you make of the whole situation, as well as, of course, where we've landed?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard enough to track leaked information in professional sports. We've seen with the integrity FBI cases that have come out with the NBA scandal, with the MLB scandal. I agree with you, Adam, that tracking it from college to professional just kind of opens up another can of worms there. It's really interesting because the NCAA has had this rule pretty much in place since the inception of the organization in college sports back in the 1900s, where college athletes are not allowed to bet on professional games. Athletic department staff is not allowed to bet on professional games. Obviously, years later, we now have sports betting is legal. That rule, longstanding, has still been in place. They actually moved to change this rule much earlier in the year, and almost even last year, they started to kind of pass different things and float different proposals around to change the rule. And the reasoning at the time was so it could free up the NCAA to focus on more serious, what they called more serious violations, like point shaving scandals, things like that, as opposed to, a college athlete bet on a professional sport app, we have to now penalize them. The NCAA says it doesn't have enough staff to really handle all of its caseload. We just had 6 college basketball players, I believe, were banned for life for sort of information sharing and game manipulation. So the NCAA has been dealing with a lot of these game integrity issues, the same stuff the NBA is dealing with, the MLB is dealing with. They voted to change this rule to allow their enforcement staff to have, more of those resources. But then kind of as soon as this change was about to come in place, you had all of the scandals in the NBA and the MLB, and now more recently, more men's college basketball scandals dropped right after that. So it was at a really bad time to change the rule. The SEC commissioner, Greg Sankey, came out and urged them to reverse the rule. They said it's a tone-deaf kind of thing, especially at this time. And now what you're seeing is the NCAA has, in fact, reversed that rule. the Division I Council, less than 75% actually voted to adopt it, which triggered a 30-day window, which is rarely used. And then 2/3 of D1 schools kind of voted to not change this rule. So this rule will stay in place. The timing is really interesting that it came before all these scandals. Now you have these scandals, political pressures on them, and they're going to keep it in place. So from the NCAA standpoint, I think they're going to try to figure out more ways they can free up themselves to monitor these cases, as opposed to changing a rule that has obviously pissed a lot of people off.
Yeah, and as you wrote in your article there for Legal Sports Report, the line between college and pro markets right now has never been thinner with all these ongoing investigations that you alluded to. Meanwhile, in Illinois at the moment, we have a hefty proposal in terms of a sports betting tax north of 10%. Is this going to pass? Where does this go from here?
Yeah, really interesting. Illinois is now one of the biggest sports betting tax states after raising their taxes almost 2 or 3 times in the past 2 years, where now the biggest operators, the FanDuels and DraftKings of the world, have to pay basically a 40% tax, as well as another per bet fee on every tax, which they've in turn thrown down to, or passed down to customers, which now have to pay an extra bet fee in Illinois. Chicago is actually proposing adding their own 10% tax on top of that, which now Illinois lawmakers have written Chicago councilmen saying that this is just untenable. It would already add on to our enormous tax in the state. It would add a precedent where every locality is able to now add their own taxes onto it. From Chicago's standpoint, they want to raise more money. It would be about $26 million a year in tax revenue this raises. But when you put that on top of what many call already sky-high taxes in the state, it makes it really untenable. We'll have to see if the Illinois lawmakers, about 30 of them, are advocating not to adopt this, if that has any sway with the actual Chicago lawmakers. We'll keep watching it.
Sam McQuillan, again, Legal Sports Report on Twitter at Sam_McQuill. Always enjoy, obviously, chatting about the business of sports betting. We're going to get to the media side coming up in a little bit here with Simon Applebaum. But, Sam, in the meantime, enjoy the holiday. Eat well.
Family. You love them. But let's be honest, you need a break. While Uncle Steve explains why he hates the referee, and Aunt Linda asks why you're still single, you can be somewhere else. SportsGrid is live all Thanksgiving Day. Real-time odds, predictive data, and total silence from your in-laws. Escape the noise with SportsGrid.
Huge number out there on Kason Wallace to win Defensive Player of the Year at 500-1. That is worth your attention. And a number that I talked about before the season that I still think should be lower is Mark Daigneault to win Coach of the Year at 11-1 in the NBA. If they win 70, he's a lock for top 3. If they win 73, it's his.
Game time decisions only on SportsGrid.
What are those things called?
A shooting star.
Yeah, okay, I'll go with that one. Like, it just burns up quick. And you love it while you can see it, and bing, it's gone in the blink of an eye.
Right.
That's my fear for Cam Scatterby.
Yeah, and that's not a big deal, but I will say it's weird, and it seems like he really enjoys that attention, which is all fine because he's a young guy.
Yeah.
But possibly dangerous in a city like New York.
The Craig Carton Show. Only on SportsGrid.
Close to $1 million in volume being traded right now in the Offensive Player of the Year. If you did put $100 down on Jonathan Taylor, that would pay back $143, so a 43% increase on your money that you had. There are a lot of long shots in here, but it doesn't feel like those would be good bets. Like, hey, I'm going to put it on Justin Herbert. Well, yeah, if Justin Herbert wins it, Joe, a $100 wager would pay back $10,000. They even have a market for if you want to bet Malik Neighbors.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, we are back. Simon Applebaum joins us, of course, another regular here on SportsGrid and on NewsWire, who always helps us out with the media side of the sports industry, both, of course, betting and just content in general, the movers, the shakers, the league partnerships, and on and on and on. Simon, the host and producer of Tomorrow Will Be Televised. Simon, how are you?
Very fine, thank you. And by the way, to you and Craig and Joe and everybody at NewsWire and SportsGrid, all of our listeners and their families, have a wonderful Thanksgiving. It's going to be amazing. If you're a sports fan, this is a big weekend for you.
Incredible slate of football. There's no doubt about that. Just singularly tomorrow, even looking ahead to what we've got on Black Friday and obviously Saturday, Sunday. But yeah, the weekend in general, when it comes to the various TV opportunities, you've got Ion's new women's college basketball tournament. You have the Tubi simulcast of Fox's Thanksgiving Day game. You have college football rivalry games. Feast week in college basketball, as we've been talking about. Again, 4 NFL games before we even get to Sunday. What are you most excited about?
A number of things. First of all, we talked about this last week, and that is the EA game, the alternative telecast that Peacock is going to run with the Bengals and the Ravens. I'm definitely excited about the other games that are going to be happening, pro football, and also the college games. You got a lot of rivalry games. You got Georgia, Georgia Tech. You have Mississippi and Mississippi State, which could determine if Ole Miss actually is in the college football playoff because of all the brouhaha about Lane Kiffin maybe leaving to go to LSU in Florida. There was talk on Sportsmanlike on ESPN Radio this morning suggesting that if Mississippi State, if they win that game and Kiffin says, okay, I'm heading out the door, the College Football Playoff Committee may say, okay, we think Ole Miss is not going to be that great in our playoffs, so we're going to boot them out and put somebody else in. So there's a lot happening. You mentioned the Ion Women's College Basketball Tournament. That's the first time they're doing it. It's on Friday and Saturday. And you also have quite a few non-sports things, too, like, for example, Stranger Things popping up on Netflix starting today, and the Chuck E. Cheese Christmas that'll be premiering on Prime Video tomorrow. We had the people behind that show on Tomorrow Be Televised yesterday, and so it looks like I said, cornucopia of sports and also some non-sports too. Something for everybody.
Well, it's something for everybody on Amazon as well. We've got a Black Friday triple header. What's involved?
Well, it's actually a quadruple header. It's 4 events back to back to back to back. First of all, 9 a.m., the return of one of the best, I think, golf concepts ever, the Skins game. You have 4 great players. They battle. Money put up for each hole. If you win the hole, you win the money. If not, the money gets carried over. It's the first time in over 2 decades that tournament, which was very big on NBC and ABC for a long time, is going to be on Amazon exclusively. And that's at 9 a.m. Eastern time. Then you have what turns out to be an amazing NFL game, Bears versus Eagles. I'm sure it's a Thanksgiving after gift for Kirk Herbst and Al Michaels will call the game. And then you have for the first time, an NBA doubleheader. Now that Prime Video has NBA doubleheaders on Friday night. So you got the NBA Cup, 2 good games. And by the way, it'll be the first time that if you have FanDuel, you can track bets on both games. So it'll be interesting to see how all of that Black Friday coverage pulls together. And I'll bet you that if that all works, by next Black Friday in 2026, you may see people actually bet on games using their voice and Alexa Plus.
Winter Olympics are right around the corner, obviously, here, Simon. What can we expect from the coverage?
Well, you're going to get a lot of it, and you're going to get it from some unexpected places. You're definitely going to get it from NBC, which will probably do the highlights in prime time. Snoop Dogg and Company, Mike Tirico hosting. You will have Peacock with all day, all night, live tape, interactive coverage. They'll be like the home base. But what we didn't think about was that CNBC and USA, despite the fact that in January they spin off from Parent NBC Universal into Versant, they are going to carry Olympic coverage. CNBC, which has been sort of the mostly curling Winter Olympics network, they'll be back doing that. And USA, which has been the Team USA coverage, mostly tape delay, they'll be on as well. And that was not expected. We thought that NBC Sports Network would take some of the Peacock coverage and put it on there. And as it turns out, Versant is also involved in the new controversy of carriage. Just when you thought we were done with that, with the YouTube TV and Disney situation, now Fubo has taken, or NBC Universal has taken off their channels from Fubo. And here's why. They want 2 things. First of all, they want all the Versant channels, not just USA Network and Golf Channel and CNBC that carry sports, but they want the non-sports services like Oxygen, like E, like Bravo, like not Bravo, Oxygen E and so forth, they want them on there. And Fubo is saying, no way, Jose. We want the sports channels. And the other part is that apparently Fubo offered NBC Universal, okay, we'll take Versant for 1 year. NBC wants a multi-year deal, and that's where you have the brouhaha. And we'll see if this goes as long as what just transpired with YouTube TV and Disney.
As we know, the WNBA gains popularity year after year, especially over the last couple of seasons. The new Women's Hockey League has, picked up, obviously, in its partnerships. What about the National Women's Soccer League and the championship that is coming here? I mean, how big a deal is this production going to be?
It turned out to be a big deal, Adam. Last Saturday was the game. It was on CBS, and we also on Paramount Plus. And we know from the CBS numbers that have come in, 1.2 million people saw the game. It was up 22% from a year ago. And for the playoffs overall, which were on CBS, ESPN, other places, they averaged about 500,000 viewers, which is over 40% from last year. The difference with CBS this year was they really made an effort to promote the game. They had CBS mornings on Friday, the day before, originate live from PayPal Stadium in San Jose. They did numerous segments, some with their hosts like Gayle King and Nate Burleson, some with Adriana Diaz, who interviewed the players from both Gotham FC and the Washington Spirit. CBS Saturday morning did a segment or two on their telecast the next day. So CBS really made an effort to get people to watch the game and also get to know the players. And it really, really paid off. So kudos to CBS for doing it. And by the way, we'll see if the NWSL decides, which they didn't do this year, to hold a draft. I think they need to do it because of what's coming up in the Women's World Cup in 2027 and then the following year, the Summer Olympics at Los Angeles.
We saw some movement this week in terms of talent. You've mentioned some talent, obviously. Elle Duncan goes from ESPN to Netflix to become the face of the sports content operation there. What can we expect in terms of upcoming programming at Netflix?
I think you're going to see Netflix use Duncan as sort of a throwback to what used to be when you had only 3 broadcast networks covering sports. You had Jim McKay as the face of ABC, Brian Gumbel, Bob Costas, NBC, Brent Musburger, Jack Whitaker, Greg Gumbel, Jim Nantz, CBS. Elle Duncan is going to become the face of Netflix sports, and Netflix is going to do a lot more in sports next year than you think.
Well, it should be a lot of fun to watch it all transpire. But meanwhile, Simon Applebaum, again, host and producer of Tomorrow Will Be Televised. Always enjoy when you hop on with us. And as you said before, happy Thanksgiving to you and yours.
You too, Adam. All the greatest. Take care.
All right.
Close to $1 million in volume being traded right now in the Offensive Player of the Year. If you did put $100 down on Jonathan Taylor, that would pay back $143, so a 43% increase on your money that you had. There are a lot of long shots in here, but it doesn't feel like those would be good bets. Like, hey, I'm going to put it on Justin Herbert. Well, yeah, if Justin Herbert wins it, Joe, a $100 wager would pay back $10,000. They even have a market for if you want to bet Malik Neighbors.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
He's the fan favorite. They love talking about Stafford, the 38-year-old guy. He's the Super Bowl champ. We got the family. Any opportunity to pump McVay and Stafford as a team, they do that. They love this team. They love Aaron Donald, and rightfully so. Best defensive player, but they love to pump up Stafford.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
What are those things called?
A shooting star.
Yeah, okay, I'll go with that one. Like, it just burns up quick. And you love it while you can see it, and bing, it's gone in the blink of an eye.
Right.
That's my fear for Cam Scatterby.
Yeah, and that's not a big deal, but I will say it's weird, and it seems like he really enjoys that attention, which is all fine because he's a young guy.
Yeah.
But possibly dangerous in a city like New York.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid. Family, you love them. But let's be honest, you need a break. While Uncle Steve explains why he hates the referee, and Aunt Linda asks why you're still single, you can be somewhere else. SportsGrid is live all Thanksgiving Day. Real-time odds, predictive data, and total silence from your in-laws. Escape the noise with SportsGrid.
Let's switch gears to college football with some games on the way. Obviously, we got some Friday, a whole bunch Saturday. Just a wonderful time of the year here. Turkey Day right around the corner as well. Bill Bender joins us on Twitter at BillBender92. Covers college football for the Sporting News. Bill, good to see you again, obviously. Let's go to Friday. Texas A&M against Texas. Basically, ballpark 2 top 15 teams, 3 against 16, a 2.5-point spread here with A&M the favorites, total of 51.5. What are your expectations?
Well, this is Arch Manning spotlight game. 328 yards, 11 touchdowns, 1 interception in his last 4 games, and a chance to play spoiler and keep the Aggies out of the SEC championship game and see how Marcel Reed attacks that Texas pass defense that ranks 12th in the SEC. And when I always tell people, Adam, other than Ohio State, Michigan, I'm not sure 2 fan bases hate each other more. Great game to have on Friday night. I'm taking Texas in a small upset. The line is short. I like that run defense. I think they do play the spoiler role, and Arch Manning begins the quest to amp up the hype for next season.
You see that? And that means a lot coming from Bill, because usually when the two of us are together, we're just dumping all over Arch Manning. So he's turned things around of late, even though it does look like he's got another year of college football on the way here. Meanwhile, Ohio State, number 1 team in the country against Michigan. We talked about this game a little bit earlier on the show. A great rivalry game, as you said, fan bases that absolutely loathe one another. It's the number 1 team in the country. There's nothing Michigan would rather do than play spoiler here, but a 10.5-point dog. What are the chances this game stays close?
Well, I mean, the weather might be a huge factor. Sounds like we're going to have snow and wet and just the conditions that are befitting a rivalry game like this in Big Ten country. As you know, I grew up in Central Ohio. It's such a special game to watch. And I think the difference in this one, though, is Ohio State's defense. They've been so good all year. I think they're in that Georgia, Alabama, even Miami Hurricanes kind of weight class of all-time defenses, the way that they just don't allow points. And how Bryce Underwood responds against Matt Patricia will be the key. I actually like the Buckeyes to cover. 27-13 is the final score. We're always required to give one with that game around here, just so we're really right or really wrong. I think the Buckeyes pull out the cover and end that 4-game losing streak to Michigan.
Meanwhile, we got the Iron Bowl, and that is Alabama and Auburn. Alabama obviously has been the better team despite a little bit of a slow start. Certainly, I was one of the doubters. I wasn't really believing in Simpson, in DeBoer, and this thing has turned around. It's looked pretty good. Alabama historically over, recent years has really dominated this rivalry. As we know, Nick Saban was a big part of that as well. He's gone at this point in time, but a 5.5-point spread, Bama the favorite. Does it play out with the Crimson Tide winning and covering?
It is such a trap spread because, when I first looked at it, I'm thinking Alabama's going to win that game by double digits and get to Atlanta and accomplish all the things that they're going to do. And then you remember that this is Kalen DeBoer's first trip to Jordan-Hare Stadium. And Nick Saban was 5-4 in those games. And whenever they play here, it's when the craziness starts with the Iron Bowl. So I still like Alabama to cover, and I do think they'll get to Atlanta. But this is one of those games that it's just tricky enough to be careful. But if you want to take Auburn here and believe that they can limit Alabama to less than 4 yards of carry and hang around, I wouldn't find fault in that either.
Much like that first game we talked about, we got another close spread here in this one. That's Vanderbilt, Tennessee, a couple of top 20 teams, 2.5-point spread. The Volunteers are the favorites. Big total, 65.5. Can we get an over?
Yeah, I think we will. I think Pavia and Aguilar are going to put on a show, and Tennessee has a win streak in that series. So all these rivalry games mean something for Diego Pavia and Vanderbilt to get to 10 wins for the first time in school history. Of the numbers, it's a tough game to pick because I could see both teams winning, but I do think we're going to get a shootout. Both teams pass the ball down the field very well, and maybe the most entertaining game on Saturday from an offensive standpoint is what we're going to get when those two go against each other. I like Tennessee to win. It's like Vanderbilt, prove you can win. But you know what, Adam? They've been proving people wrong all season long. And if Vanderbilt gets a win here, Pavia's Heisman odds could shoot up here down the stretch.
Bill, turkey against ham on Thanksgiving. What's the spread?
Oh, you've got to have turkey. Come on, man. Turkey, pumpkin pie, mashed potatoes. Everything else is... You can have it or not have it. I need those 3 things.
See, some people will jump in and say, I need the sides. You know, I've heard people say 1 through 9, my batting order is mac and cheese all the way through. I can't get that. You got to get a little creative. But yeah, turkey, it's got to be a staple. It's a part of the thing, whether you like it or not, whether it's too bland, too dry for you, add the gravy, enjoy your meal. Bill Bender 92, of course, on Twitter. He covers college football for the Sporting News, a senior writer there. Bill, always enjoy the time. Enjoy the holiday. We'll talk again soon.
Hey, thank you.
Close to $1 million in volume being traded right now in the Offensive Player of the Year. If you did put $100 down on Jonathan Taylor, that would pay back $143, so a 43% increase on your money that you had. There are a lot of long shots in here, but it doesn't feel like those would be good bets. Like, hey, I'm going to put it on Justin Herbert. Well, yeah, if Justin Herbert wins it, Joe, a $100 wager would pay back $10,000. They even have a market for if you want to bet Malik Neighbors.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
He's the fan favorite. They love talking about Stafford, the 38-year-old guy. He's the Super Bowl champ. We got the family. Any opportunity to pump McVay and Stafford as a team, they do that. They love this team. They love Aaron Donald, and rightfully so. Best defensive player, but they love to pump up Stafford.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
What are those things called?
A shooting star.
Yeah, okay, I'll go with that one. Like, it just burns up quick. And you love it while you can see it, and bing, it's gone in the blink of an eye.
Right.
That's my fear for Cam Scatterby.
Yeah, and that's not a big deal, but I will say it's weird, and it seems like he really enjoys that attention, which is all fine because he's a young guy.
Yeah.
But possibly dangerous in a city like New York.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid. Family, you love them. But let's be honest, you need a break. While Uncle Steve explains why he hates the referee, and Aunt Linda asks why you're still single, you can be somewhere else. SportsGrid is live all Thanksgiving Day. Real-time odds, predictive data, and total silence from your in-laws. Escape the noise with SportsGrid.
We've got about a half hour to go here on NewsWire on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, and we're going to get to some NFL. I know. All those other games that we talked about, all those other events, appetizers to the main course, and that is a Thanksgiving feast of football. 3 games plus 1 on Black Friday for only the 3rd time, so that'll be fun as well. And to help us break it down, a host and analyst here on SportsGrid, Mike Blewett, who you can catch right here on the network later on today hosting Game Time Decisions. Mike, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Excited for a huge slate tonight of games. Every NHL team, 9 NBA games. Obviously, we'll be previewing these games that we're about to talk about here, and big college football games on the slate all weekend. So excited to get after it. This is a good stretch here of 4 or 5 days of sports.
And quite possibly the best Thanksgiving Day football lineup that we have ever had. I mean, we have got some great games coming up here, and it begins, of course, in the NFC North with the Packers and the Lions. And this game right here has Detroit universally favored by 2.5 points. The total in this one, 48.5, 49.5, depending on where you do your shopping, up a point in some spots from open. And same season revenge game. Dan Campbell, by the way, 3-0 against the spread in those spots. The Lions lost to the Packers all the way back in week 1. I could give you trends to make an argument for either side in this one, be it Matt LaFleur's success as an underdog, obviously, coaching the Packers, or how the Lions tend to do on Thanksgiving as favorites, among others. How do you see this game, such a close spread, playing out?
Yeah, I don't think it's a particularly easy read. Green Bay at 7-3-1 is 3-7 against the number in their last 10 games. I think that says a lot about the type of team that they are. Very mercurial, but they've played well defensively. For all the we wish Jordan Love was a little bit better, and we wish their wide receivers would be more consistent. Their defense has been consistent, and Emmanuel Wilson in for Josh Jacobs did a really good job running the ball last week, allowing them to earn a victory. What I keep coming back to is the Lions at home. And they're not immaculate at home, but they're pretty damn good against the number at home under Dan Campbell. It's just 2.5. I think they can get a field goal win. It won't surprise me if Green Bay wins it. I just have to go with the Lions. The explosive way in which they played against the Giants in the second half, I think you'll see a little bit more of that. Certainly not to that extent. Jahmyr Gibbs' record-breaking day on Sunday. But I like the Lions to get the victory in a little bit of a lower scoring affair. I think their offense will be good enough, but I could see a 26-23 kind of game right on the number. I think that's a good total.
Lions are 5-1 straight up when favored on Thanksgiving going back to 2004. Winless when dogs, but of course they are the favorites here. And LaFleur is the only head coach in the NFL in the Super Bowl era that has a winning record as an underdog straight up. So we'll see what winds up happening. But I think the bigger thing here for me, Mike, and I'm curious how you see it, is, again, we're entering week 13, so we got a handful of weeks left in the NFL season. This is an immensely important game because I don't think, I think, to me, one of these teams gets into the playoffs. I think we're going to see 3 teams from the NFC West, the way this is shaking out, between obviously the Rams, who lead the conference, the Seahawks, the Niners, who of course just won on Monday night to cap week 12. Do you think this is an either or is there a situation, a universe where both Green Bay and Detroit climb in?
Yeah, I think the Bears, despite the fact that they are actually in the have the divisional lead right now, are still at risk. They're a team who has a negative point differential at 8-3. They've won a lot of tight games. They've relied on turnovers in order to bolster them. And I don't think that makes them a lucky team. I would just say that it isn't necessarily sustainable when you hit the better parts of your schedule. They're going to have Philly this Friday, and for whatever you think about Philly's issues, they're still one of the top teams in the sport. And then they're going to be at Green Bay. They'll have Green Bay again. They'll be at San Francisco and have the Lions. So the Bears are hitting the toughest part of their schedule, and it would not surprise me at all if these two teams, as much as you are correct in saying that this is an enormous game, I think these two teams could both pass the Bears with 5 games to go.
All right, let's go Chiefs-Cowboys. And this is a really interesting one as well. Dallas is not down and out quite yet. Might have been with a loss to the Eagles and down 21-0. It didn't look good at Jerry's World, but they wind up 24 unanswered, come back, win that game. And the Chiefs, week by week right now, fighting for their playoff lives at this moment on the outside looking in. You have 6-5 against 5-1. The Chiefs, despite being on the road, 3.5 point favorites. Again, if you like the dog, if you like the 3.5 like the Cowboys were against the Eagles, you could still get that hook out there. It's available to you. Total in this one has climbed considerably. We're looking at 52.5, up 5 points from open. Overs in the Cowboys' last 15 games are 11-4, so maybe to that end, we should expect points. Patrick Mahomes, basically every Mahomes trend would tell you the Chiefs are going to win this game. His success indoors, his success on short weeks, sheer desperation, obviously. And I will also add this. Road favorites are 25-1 straight up, 20-6 against the spread on Thanksgiving going back to 2004. So that's a couple decade run right here. Do the Chiefs go out and handle their business?
I'd imagine that the Lions had a pretty big hand in making those road favorites successful. So what I would say is that we have a team here, like you said, Cowboys play to a ton of overs, 7-3 in the last 10, 11-4, like you said, in the last 15. However, on the flip side, KC, 8 of their last 10 to the under. As much as people want points to happen, as much as this might be a record-breaking audience expectations of over 50 million people watching this game. when they last played in 2021, and I know it's a while ago, that game was 19-9. Dak Prescott was 28 of 43 for 262, no picks and 2 interceptions. They limited CeeDee Lamb to 3 catches for 14 yards. The point in me setting this up is that still the same defensive coordinator in KC. And there's a lot of poking holes in what this offense is not these days. And Kelsey's older. And why can't they be more consistent with Xavier Worthy and Rashee Rice and drop passes? And they can't run the ball that well. The running is a real issue for the Chiefs. Their inability to run the ball consistently is a real issue. But I just think Steve Spagnuolo is excellent in these situations. I'm giving him the nod over Brian Schottenheimer and that Dallas offense. And I think this game does play to the under. The 3.5, I do think is a really important number. But I'm going to lead with the under in this game. I think 52.5 is too high, especially the way the Chiefs play in the second halves of games late in the year, Adam.
Dak is 4-3 straight up, 2-5 against the spread on Thanksgiving. That 2-5, ugly number, among the worst, if not the worst, against the spread when starting on Thanksgiving in recent years, obviously. So let's go Bengals-Ravens. If we run out of time on this one, we'll pick it up on the other side. Bengals, as we know, 3-8. Their season's basically over, but they're bringing Joe Burrow back. Obviously, Jamar Chase returns from Spitgate or whatever we want to call it. There's no T. Higgins due to his concussion that he suffered late in the game in that loss to the Patriots last week. The Ravens at 6-5 have overtaken the Steelers now for the top of the AFC North. We have Baltimore as a 6.5 to 7-point favorite, up from 5.5. Total in this one, 51.5, 52.5. What do you think?
So last year when the last time these teams played was a massive game for Jamar Chase. He had 17 targets, 11 catches for 264 and 3 touchdowns. That was sort of later in the year last year. I think because the Ravens offense has been a little bit head scratching these last couple of weeks, and there's doubt as to whether or not Lamar is fully healthy, it's a little difficult for me to lay the 7. Here's my number one bet in this game, and it's Joe Burrow over 36.5 passing attempts. I think they come out throwing it. And he hit 9 of his last 10 games in 2024 were to the over. And in both Baltimore games last year, he went over 36.5 pass attempts.
Well, to add to that, Chase Brown facing a top 5 run defense as well. So might be inclined to throw more with Blewett on these games when we return.
Oh boy, oh boy. This is not going to go away, folks. This betting scandal that involved Terry Rozier, that involved Jonte Porter last year, and then obviously with Chauncey Billups getting involved and stuff like that, this is not going away. This is not good. And this is not the end of this scandal.
Pro basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
The future of the prediction markets, I think, at least for now, may be in the hands of the federal courts. But the good news for those who support prediction markets is that these court battles may last for another 2 to 3 years before we get clarity around the law. And nominee Seelig was handpicked by Donald Trump, not because he was neutral on prediction markets, but because he would do nothing to slow it down.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
He's the fan favorite. They love talking about Stafford, the 38-year-old guy. He's the Super Bowl champ. We got the family. Any opportunity to pump McVay and Stafford as a team, they do that. They love this team. They loved Aaron Donald, and rightfully so. Best defensive player, but they love to pump up Stafford.
Pro football today, only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circa Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
We're looking ahead to the 3-game Thanksgiving slate in the NFL with Mike Blewett on Twitter, at Mike Blewett, of course, a host and analyst here on SportsGrid. And we continue with the nightcap here, which is this Ravens-Bengals game. The thing, we're just talking about the game, but looking at some trends, and I know people will look at it and say, you can only take trends to a point. To me, it's trends are our friends until they're not. And every trend, Mike, basically supports Baltimore in this situation, despite how big a favorite it is. For instance, since 1990, the wild card era in the NFL, 7+ point favorites, and there's a 7 out there still, are 30-5 straight up, 25-10 against the spread on Thanksgiving. Lamar Jackson has started 6 career home games with a temperature 35 degrees or below. In those games, he's 6-0 both straight up and against the spread. He's 6-1 straight up against Joe Burrow. Not that quarterbacks go head-to-head, but you know what I'm saying. The Ravens are 5-1 against the spread in their last 6 meetings with the Bengals. The over, by the way, 8-1 in the last 9 going back to 2021, going over the total by about 10 points. For anyone out there considering a shootout, I don't think we get one considering how good Baltimore's defense has been over its last half dozen games. But again, everything points to not only do the Ravens win, they cover. So why should we look at this game differently?
So I'm still a little perplexed as to the performance against the Jets. And you could say the Jets are playing hard and Aaron Glenn has them playing better, but they put up 23 points. And the week before that, they have a Browns team that had to switch quarterbacks in the middle of the game, and they put up 23 points. And I get it. That's a divisional rival, and you have a tough defensive coordinator in Jim Schwartz and Myles Garrett and the whole thing. But this team consistently has team totals that are set at 26, 27, 28 points, and they're just not getting there. And Derrick Henry hasn't been used in the same way this season as he was used last season. You can't just say, they're saving him to the end of the year. The Ravens were in completely desperate situation 5 weeks ago. They were 1-5, and I did expect them to turn it around. I have lots of futures on the Ravens, and I'm bullish on the team in general. But on a week-in, week-out basis, they can become a difficult team to bet on. They had a 13.5 point spread. Depends, to your point, depends where you shop when you bet it. But that was a 13-point game last week. You're sweating that one out to the end. I think you'll do that here. Here's what I would suggest, too, and this is part of why SportsGrid exists and our most popular shows are in-game live. I think this is an excellent live betting opportunity, Adam. So Bengals get the ball, come down, score. You're going to get the Ravens at 3.5 or 4.5, and then you can start to get into some numbers that are a little bit more palatable as opposed to trying to stay up till 11:30 on Thanksgiving after you've had thirds and maybe a couple of cocktails and sweating that game out until a last-second field goal that doesn't even cover the spread anyway. So I think it's a really interesting live betting opportunity. I mentioned Burrow. I think he just comes out throwing. And there's a little bit of an undercurrent from some people, not you and I, some people that, what are the Bengals playing Joe Burrow for? They're 3-8. They're out of the playoff mix. And they pretty much are. They'd have to win 6 straight to even make it a possibility. But I'm not down with that philosophy at all. He's your best player. You pay him a fortune. Not that I care about the money, but he's your best player. Just let him get out there and play and see what happens. They obviously wanted him to play on Sunday, and he wasn't there yet. I hope he doesn't get injured again, but I'm excited to see Joe Burrow, and you should play your best player if he's healthy.
Medical people clear you, you're cleared. Football players play football, as Bill Belichick once famously said. Let's go to the Black Friday game. It is just the one. couple of 8-3 teams. The Bears at the Eagles, really fascinating matchup, obviously. 4 straight wins for Chicago. It is a tough matchup for Caleb Williams. The Eagles, after blowing a 21-0 lead in Dallas and losing that game, are 7-point favorites. Had been 6.5, 7-point favorites on the nose. The total has come down a couple points, 46.5 down to 44.5. This Eagles spot is, compelling given the inconsistencies of the offense, obviously. Third ever Black Friday game, just to mention that again. Jalen Hurts, 30-4 straight up when favored at home. Nick Sirianni, though, not great off a loss, 8-14 against the spread. And so how do we see this game here?
It's a big number, right? It's very telling that the market would have the Bears, an 8-3 team, as touchdown underdogs this late in the season. And I'm a Steelers fan, so I had the unfortunate experience of watching that game, not just while I was on air, but watched it again. And pretty frustrating. The Steelers had the opportunities to beat the Bears, but couldn't get off the field on third down. I think the Bears are really good there. Caleb Williams, for whatever you think of him as a passer now, and he's continuing to develop, he's very elusive, and was able to make some plays to extend third downs. I don't know that he'll have the ability to do that. Philly's much better on third down than are the Steelers. Both of these teams are 5-5 to the total in the last 10 games, so flip a coin on that. I would say I'd expect the Eagles to contain the Bears in this one. I'm expecting a lower scoring affair, which ironically leads me to not really loving laying that 7. I don't expect a low scoring blowout. Those tend to not match up. So I'd have to hold my nose and take the Bears, but really I like a lower scoring affair here, under 44.5. I think the Eagles get the victory.
Mike, let's quickly look at the MVP market as it exists right now, and there are 2 overwhelming favorites. The value is everywhere else. The problem is you've lost all the value on Matthew Stafford, who's roughly minus 200, and Drake May at roughly plus 200. Then it's Taylor, who's not going to win it. He's Offensive Player of the Year, but running backs generally are not MVPs. And then obviously Allen and Mahomes. Could you make an argument for May if you foreshadowed New England winning the 1 seed in the AFC, if you also envision that LA winds up, obviously with a great record, but doesn't get the top seed, doesn't necessarily win the division in the NFC?
Yeah, I think that's the way it happens. The irony is that Matt Stafford's number was still pretty good like 10 days ago. It was sitting right there for everybody. And then he had another brilliant performance on a Sunday night, and that launched him. So, yeah, that would be the path. 1 seed for May, no 1 seed for Stafford.
Mike Blewett, once again, will host Game Time Decisions later on today on the grid. Mike, thank you so much. Happy Thanksgiving.
Oh boy, oh boy. This is not going to go away, folks. This betting scandal that involved Terry Rozier, that involved Jonte Porter last year, and then obviously with Chauncey Billups getting involved and stuff like that, this is not going away. This is not good. And this is not the end of this scandal.
Pro Basketball Today, only on SportsGrid.
The future of the prediction markets, I think, at least for now, may be in the hands of the federal courts. But the good news for those who support prediction markets is that these court battles may last for another 2 to 3 years before we get clarity around the law. And nominee Seelig was handpicked by Donald Trump, not because he was neutral on prediction markets, but because he would do nothing to slow it down.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
He's the fan favorite. They love talking about Stafford, the 38-year-old guy. He's the Super Bowl champ. We got the family. Any opportunity to pump McVay and Stafford as a team, they do that. They love this team. They love Aaron Donald, and rightfully so. Best defensive player. But but they love to pump up Stafford.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
All right, we are back. Thanks to all of our guests. Of course, most recently, Mike Blewett. Before that, we had Bill Bender and Simon Applebaum. We had Sam McQuillan way back at the beginning of the show. Mike DeCourcy. Great group of people. We thank you, Frank, Luke, everyone behind the scenes making this show possible. Got you for a few more minutes. It's time for our SportsGrid Last Licks. Well, Paul Skeens, good to be Paul Skeens, isn't it? I mean, between Rookie of the Year, Cy Young, multiple All-Star appearances, Livy Dunn, the man is he's getting it done on a daily basis, isn't he? He has received a record $3.4 to be exact, $1 million from this year's pre-arbitration bonus pool, raising his 2-year total to $5.8 million under the initiative to direct more money to the top young players. I mean, it's great. It is great. There's no doubt about it. By the same token, that is a fraction of the amount of money this dude is going to make going forward in his still very long career if he is fortunate enough to stay healthy, and we all hope that he does. It's fun to watch the great ones, and he is projecting to be one of those guys. He is such a young dude, and just an incredible future ahead of him, obviously. Salaries are ballooning so much in baseball that he's going to be making $5 million to start by the end of this thing. I'm exaggerating slightly, but you know what I'm saying. All right, we go to, this is good. So as part of an investigation into former Olympic snowboarder and top 10 most wanted fugitive Ryan Wedding, the FBI has seized a 2002 Mercedes-Benz CLK GTR Roadster. Only 6 of these cars were ever built, with one selling for $10.2 million during an auction back in 2023. Top speed for this thing, 199 miles per hour, 604 is the horsepower. I would be petrified to even get behind the wheel of this thing, let alone owning one. I mean, do you drive it if you have one of these in the garage or in your showroom if you're Jay Leno or somebody like that? I mean, do we think this snowboarder had a special place to keep this? He probably shouldn't have had the car. I mean, again, if you're on the FBI's top 10 most wanted list, odds are you're doing some stuff that, you probably shouldn't be. And as we know, Ryan Wedding, going back, wanted for allegedly running and participating in a transnational drug trafficking operation that routinely shipped hundreds of kilos of cocaine from Colombia through Mexico and Southern California to Canada and other locations in the United States. Wow. I mean, ever watch like Ozark or one of those shows? I mean, just to give you an idea of what this thing, goodness gracious. All right, finally, our last of the last licks. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. We have great football on the way, and since 2004, road favorites, I mentioned this earlier, 25-1 straight up, 20-6 against the spread on Thanksgiving. There are a lot, and that one in particular, applying, of course, to Kansas City. There are a lot of great trends, just to give you. Here's some overarching ones that apply to all of these games, these 3 that we have in front of us. Since 2004, 2 decades, favorites are 51-9 straight up, 40-20 against the spread on Thanksgiving. Once again, you've got a favorite, the Gobbles, Kansas City, a favorite, Detroit, a narrow favorite, Baltimore, heavy favorite at home. I know boring to get into the money line parlay space or what have you, but look, historically on Thanksgiving, the favorites, they do win. Now, these are great matchups. You could certainly see the Bengals putting up a fight with the Ravens, even though I think a lot of us do think Baltimore wins. Kansas City and Dallas, hard to go against the Cowboys at Jerry's World. Look at what they just did, overcoming a 21-0 deficit against the Eagles, winning that game, walking it off. Could the Chiefs, with the inconsistency of that offense and defense for that matter this season, losing Dallas? It's plausible. Do I think it'll happen? I don't know. I just don't want to bet that game. I really don't. And don't forget, we talked about 3.5, the spread depending on where you look. There is no more common deficit or differential, I should say, in NFL history when it comes to the finals of these games than 3 points. 3 is the most common number in terms of differential in final scores. And so, if you could get that 3 on KC and even consider the 3.5 on Dallas, I wouldn't blame you, obviously. As for the Packers and Lions, that one feels like a total toss-up, doesn't it? It's goofy. Thanksgiving tomorrow. I will be with you with Scott Wetzel, 1 o'clock Eastern. We'll be on for the Packers and Lions. You have Tom Vecchio and Brady Cannon after us. Nightcap with Gabe Morency. And to get it all started at 11, Pro Football Today, Kevin Walsh and Joe Lisi. Again, Adam Kaufman, thanks to Frank, thanks to Luke, thanks to all of our guests. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Enjoy.